The great chamber of Prime Station stretched wide enough to hold 1,000 beings. Today, it held only 13. 12 ancient races sat in their designated seats, arranged in a perfect circle. The 13th spot remained empty, waiting. Wu stood in the center of that circle. The floor beneath him glowed with soft blue light. He wore the formal uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, dark blue with silver trim. Next to him stood, carrying a data tablet filled with documents they had prepared for months. Both of them knew this moment would decide humanity's future. Ambassador Wu of Earth, the voice boomed across the chamber. It belonged to his species had been traveling the stars for 10,000 years. He looked at Wu the way someone might look at a child playing with matches. Your species has submitted an application for full membership in the Galactic Council. We have reviewed your request. We have reviewed your history. We have much to discuss. Wu nodded slowly. He had practiced this moment in his mind 100 times. Thank you. Humanity is honored to stand before you today. Another voice spoke up. This one was softer, almost musical. It came from one of the delegates, that had feathers that shimmered like oil on water. We acknowledge that humans have made progress. Your technology has advanced quickly. You have established colonies on 17 worlds. You have shown interest in peaceful cooperation. And yet, interrupted, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade, you have also shown a talent for destruction that concerns us greatly. Tensed beside Wu, they had expected this. The Council had spent 50 years watching humanity, studying them, judging them, and they had found every flaw. Continued. In your last 500 years alone, you have fought 2 global wars. You have developed weapons capable of destroying your own planet. You have poisoned your oceans and burned your forests. Even now, after decades of unity, conflicts still arise among your nations. He leaned forward in his seat. Tell me, Ambassador, why should we allow such a volatile species into our council? Wu took a breath. He chose his words carefully. Because we learned from those mistakes. Every species here has a past. Every civilization went through growing pains. We do not hide from our history. We study it. We teach it to our children so they will not repeat it. Noble words, another council member said. This one was a silicon-based being whose voice sounded like grinding stones. But words are easy. Actions matter. Your species still argues over resources. Your people still divide themselves by meaningless categories. How can we trust you will not bring those same conflicts to the stars? Stepped forward slightly. If I may speak, honored council, humanity's diversity is not a weakness. It is our strength. We have hundreds of cultures, thousands of languages, millions of different perspectives. This teaches us to adapt, to understand others, to find common ground despite our differences. Or to fight over those differences, said coldly. We have seen the recordings. Your wars were brutal. Your weapons were cruel. You created devices meant only to cause suffering, and you used them on your own kind. The chamber fell silent. Wu felt the weight of that statement. It was true. All of it was true. Humanity's past was filled with darkness as well as light. Yes, Wu said quietly. We did those things and we carry that shame, but we also stopped. We chose a different path. We built a unified government. We eliminated nuclear weapons. We focused on exploration instead of conquest. We have been peaceful for 73 years. 73 years, repeated, his tone mocking. I am personally 600 years old. My species has known peace for 9,000 years. 73 years is nothing. It is a blink. How do we know you will not fall back into your violent ways the moment we turn our backs? Spoke again, her voice gentle. Perhaps we are being too harsh. The humans have shown genuine effort. They have honored every treaty with neighboring species. They have offered aid to colonies in need. They have never shown aggression toward any member of this council. Because they know they would lose, another council member added. They are wise enough to fear us. That is not the same as choosing peace. Wu felt frustration building in his chest, but he kept his face calm. With respect, honored counsel, we do not fear you. We respect you. There is a difference. We came here not because we had to, but because we wanted to. We believe in what this council represents. We want to be part of something larger than ourselves. Stood from his seat. He was tall, nearly 3 meters, with scales that gleamed like polished metal. You speak well, Ambassador, but speaking well is not enough. The council must vote. He looked around at the other members. All those in favor of granting humanity full membership signify now. One light appeared. It came from Seat. Then another from a small delegate whose species Wu did not recognize. Then a third. 3 votes out of 12. They needed 8. All those opposed said. 9 lights blazed to life, including Soon. The vote is clear, announced. Humanity's application is. His hand gripped the data tablet so hard it creaked. Wu closed his eyes for just a moment. Furthermore, continued, we are imposing a quarantine on human space for a period of 100 years. Human ships will not be permitted beyond your current territorial boundaries. Trade will be limited. Contact will be minimal. You will use this time to prove your species can maintain peace without the Council's guidance. 100 years, Wu said, his voice finally showing emotion. You are isolating us completely. We are protecting the galaxy, replied. From you and from yourselves. When you have demonstrated true stability, you may apply again. This session is concluded. The lights in the chamber brightened. The council members began to stand, preparing to leave. Wu and were dismissed, ignored, forgotten already. As they walked toward the exit, Wu heard voices behind them. Council members talking among themselves, no longer bothering to whisper. They will destroy themselves within 50 years, one said. Generous estimate, another replied. I give them 20 before another war breaks out. Laughter followed, actual laughter. They were laughing at humanity's failure. Touched Wu's arm gently. We should go. They left the chamber together, walking through corridors filled with aliens who barely glanced at them. When they reached their ship, a small transport docked at the outer ring of the station. Wu finally spoke. They think we are children. They think we are dangerous children, corrected. Wu sat in the pilot's seat and began the launch sequence. Through the viewport, he could see the massive bulk of Prime, with its gleaming towers and ancient architecture, a symbol of everything humanity was. 100 years, he said softly. They gave us 100 years to sit quietly in the corner. Strapped into her seat, what do we tell Earth? Wu's hands moved across the controls. The ship detached from the station and turned toward home. We tell them the truth. The galaxy does not want us, not as we are. And then, Wu looked at his reflection in the dark viewport. His jaw was set, his eyes hard. And then we prepare. If they want us to be quiet, we will be quiet, but we will not be still. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving the council and its judgment behind. Neither of them spoke during the long journey home. Both of them were already thinking about what came next. The galaxy had spoken. Now humanity would answer. But not in the way anyone expected. 15 years passed like water through fingers. Earth had changed during the quarantine, though few outside human space noticed or cared. 30 new colonies now circled distant stars, each one a testament to humanity's stubborn refusal to stay small. Ships moved between worlds carrying people who had never seen Earth, children born in the black between stars. Yang commanded one of those ships. The New Dawn was a colony transport, massive and slow, carrying 8,000 people to their new home on a planet they had named Haven. He sat in the captain's chair, watching displays that showed the endless dark of space. His crew worked quietly around him. They had been traveling for 11 months. Soon, they would arrive. Captain, the communications officer called out. Her name was, and she served as both his chief engineer and his closest friend. I am picking up a distress signal. It is coming from Harmony Station. Yang frowned. Harmony Station was one of the older human colonies, established 20 years ago on the edge of human space. Nearly 40,000 people lived there, farming and mining and building new lives far from Earth. "What kind of distress?" he asked. His face went pale as she listened to her equipment. "An attack. Captain, they are under attack." "By who?" Yang stood from his chair. "Pirates, smugglers." No, looked up at him, fear clear in her eyes. The signal identifies the attackers as. The name hung in the air like poison. The Empire was not part of the Galactic Council, but they were known throughout the galaxy, known for their warships, known for their cruelty, known for taking slaves from weaker species. "How long until we reach Harmony?" Yang asked. "At maximum speed, 40 minutes. Then we go now. Push the engines as hard as they can go." The New Dawn was not built for speed. It was built to carry people safely across vast distances, but knew every wire and pipe in the ship. She redirected power from life support in empty sections. She pushed the fusion reactors past their safety limits. The ship groaned as it accelerated, but it moved faster than it ever had before. 37 minutes later, they dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Harmony Station. What Yang saw made his blood run cold. The station was burning. Sections of it drifted apart, venting atmosphere into space. Warships circled it like predators around wounded prey. Their weapons fired again and again into the station's hull. Even from this distance, Yang could see bodies floating in the void. Thousands of bodies. "Get me a count," he said, his voice tight. "How many people are left alive?" Worked frantically at her station. "Life signs are, Captain, they are faint. I am reading maybe 2,000 survivors, maybe less. The rest are." She could not finish the sentence. 40,000 people had lived on Harmony Station. Now 38,000 were dead. "Hail the ships," Yang ordered. "Tell them to cease fire." A face appeared on the main screen. It was reptilian, covered in dark green scales. The eyes were yellow and cold. This was a commander. "Human ship," the commander said in heavily accented but understandable English. "You are far from home. This is now territory. Your colony here refused to surrender. They have paid the price for their defiance." "You murdered civilians," Yang said. "Farmers, children, people who had no weapons." The commander showed teeth in what might have been a smile. They were given a choice: serve the Empire or die. They chose death. Now you have the same choice. Surrender your ship and its people or join them in the void. Yang looked around his bridge. He had a crew of 80. The New Dawn had no weapons. It was not a warship. He had 8,000 civilians in his cargo bays, people who trusted him to keep them safe. "Stand down your weapons," Yang said slowly. "We will discuss terms." "There are no terms," the commander replied. "Only obedience. You have 1 hour to prepare your people for transfer. If you resist, you die. Choose wisely, human." The screen went dark. Stared at him. "Captain, we cannot just give up." "I know," Yang said quietly. "Get me a channel to Earth, emergency priority, and start evacuating survivors from the station. We have 1 hour, use it." For the next 55 minutes, the New Dawn's shuttlecraft flew back and forth between the ship and the dying station. They pulled people from wreckage. They found survivors in sealed compartments running out of air. They saved 1,812 people. Not enough. Never enough. Meanwhile, Yang spoke to Earth. He spoke to the Defense Ministry. He spoke to people whose names were classified. He told them what happened. He told them about the demands. He told them that humanity had just suffered its worst attack in 70 years. "The Galactic Council," Yang said. "Can they help? Will they intervene?" The answer came back cold and clear. "The Council has refused. They cite the quarantine. They say this is an internal matter of your sector. They will not intervene." Yang closed his eyes. The galaxy had abandoned them. Again. "What are your orders?" he asked. There was a long pause. Then a voice he recognized spoke. It was Wu, now Earth's Secretary of Defense, the same man who had stood before the Council 15 years ago and been rejected. "Captain Yang," Wu said carefully, "I need you to keep your ship and its people safe. Evacuate as many survivors as you can. When they demand your surrender, refuse them." "Sir, we have no weapons. They will destroy us." "They will try," Wu said, "but help is coming. We have been preparing for this day. We hoped it would never arrive, but we prepared anyway. Hold your position for 6 hours. Can you do that?" Yang looked at the displays showing the warships. 3 of them, each one 10 times the size of his ship. "I can try." "That is all I ask," Wu out. The channel closed. Yang turned to his crew. "I need you to do something for me, something impossible." "Tell me." "Those ships have weapons powered by fusion reactors, just like ours. Can you disrupt them?" Thought for a moment. "Their shielding would stop any direct attack, but if I could get close enough, maybe." "Captain, are you asking me to overload our own reactor?" "I am asking you to make them think twice about killing us quickly." She nodded slowly. "I can do that, but it will take time to set up, and once I start, there is no stopping it." "Then start now." The hour ended. The commander appeared on screen again. "Your time is up, human. Surrender or die." Yang stood straight. He thought about the bodies floating around Harmony Station. He thought about the children who would never grow up. He thought about humanity's place in a galaxy that did not want them. "No," he said simply. The commander's eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" "I said no. We do not surrender. We do not become your slaves. If you want this ship, you will have to take it, and it will cost you." "Foolish human, your death will be slow." "Maybe," Yang said, "but yours will be first." He cut the channel. Around him his crew looked terrified, but they stayed at their posts. They trusted him. "How long until help arrives?" 5 hours and 42 minutes. "Then let us see if we can survive that long." The ships opened fire. The New Dawn's shields flared and began to fail. Yang gripped his chair and prepared to die. But 6 hours later he was still alive, and everything had changed. They were about to learn what humanity could do when pushed too far. They were about to learn that quiet did not mean helpless. They were about to learn that some species, when backed into a corner, do not lie down and die. Some species fight back. And humanity had been preparing to fight back for 15 long years. Admiral Bin sat in the command center of Earth's first fleet flagship, the Indomitable. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of 60 human warships, ships that had not existed 3 weeks ago as far as the galaxy knew, ships that had been hidden in deep space, waiting for this moment. "Fleet composition confirmed," an officer reported. 3 heavy cruisers at Harmony Station. They are still attacking the colony transport. "Time to intercept?" Bin asked. 4 minutes at maximum jump speed." Bin nodded. He was an old man by human standards, nearly 70, with gray hair and scars on his hands from a lifetime of service. He had been a ship captain during humanity's last war, before the unification. He had hoped never to see battle again, but hope was a luxury he could not afford today. "All ships," he said calmly, "execute Protocol Prometheus. Jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." 60 ships vanished from Earth space and reappeared near Harmony Station. The cruisers suddenly found themselves surrounded. Their sensors screamed warnings. Their commanders shouted orders, but they were too slow. Human ships moved like nothing they had seen before. They did not form orderly battle lines. They did not follow standard engagement patterns. They swarmed. They darted in and out, firing weapons from unexpected angles. They used the wreckage of Harmony Station as cover, making them hesitate to fire for fear of destroying evidence of their own crime. Saul was one of the fighter pilots in that battle. She flew a small, fast ship called a Raptor. Her squadron was called Ghost Squadron because they appeared and disappeared like spirits. 15 fighters against warships 1,000 times their size. Ghost 2, break left, Saul commanded. Ghost 5, target their port reactor. Ghost 9, stay on my wing. The Raptors moved as one. They had trained together for 10 years, flying simulations of battles humanity hoped would never come. Now those simulations became real. They knew exactly where to strike, exactly where shields were weakest, exactly how to make giant warships afraid of tiny fighters. Saul's targeting computer locked onto a weapon battery on the nearest cruiser. She fired. Her missiles struck true. The battery exploded and a chain reaction spread across the ship's hull. One weapon gone, then another, then another. Ghost Leader, this is indomitable. Admiral Bin's voice came through her headset. You are cleared to use Dragon's Breath. Saul smiled inside her helmet. Confirmed, indomitable, deploying Dragon's Breath. From each Raptor, small spheres launched toward the cruisers. They looked harmless, almost like toys, until they activated. Each sphere opened to reveal a swarm of micro-drones, hundreds of them, each one programmed with basic artificial intelligence. The drones spread out and began cutting into the cruiser hulls with plasma torches. Individually, they were annoying. Together, they were deadly. The commander tried to hail Admiral Bin. His face appeared on the main display, green scales now darker with what might have been fear. This is a violation of galactic law. Autonomous weapons are forbidden by Council treaty. Bin looked at the commander with cold eyes. We are not members of your council. We did not sign your treaties. You attacked our civilians. Now face the consequences. The council will hear of this. You will be punished. The council had their chance to stop you. They chose not to. Now they can watch what happens when you push humans too far. The battle lasted 17 minutes. All 3 cruisers were destroyed or captured. Yang's transport, the New Dawn, survived with heavy damage but no additional casualties. The survivors from Harmony Station were safe. But the war was just beginning. Wu sat in a dark room on Earth, surrounded by computers and displays showing streams of data. He was an intelligence officer, the kind of person who fought wars with information instead of weapons. For 15 years, he had been studying the Empire. He knew their language. He knew their military structure. He knew their secrets. Admiral Bin, Wu said over a secure channel, I have intercepted communications. They are calling for reinforcements. 4 allied species are joining them. You can expect a fleet of 200 ships within a week. Bin frowned. 200 against 60. Those are difficult odds. Yes, sir, but I have something else. I have been inside their communication networks for 3 years. They do not know I am there. I can listen to everything they say. I can change their messages. I can make them doubt each other. Explain. Wu pulled up a map showing the Empire and its allies. These species work together out of mutual benefit, not trust. They barely tolerate each other. If I can convince each one that the others are planning betrayal. Bin understood immediately. You can split them apart before they even arrive. Exactly. Give me 3 days. By the time their fleet reaches human space, they will already be fighting among themselves. Do it, Bin ordered. Use whatever methods you need. We are fighting for survival now. 3 days later, the combined enemy fleet jumped into human territory. 200 ships strong, representing 5 different species. They expected an easy victory. What they found was chaos. Messages had been intercepted and altered. Supply orders had been changed. Intelligence reports had been faked. They thought their allies were stealing fuel. The ships thought they were planning to take all the conquered territory for themselves. The Vex thought everyone was plotting against them. By the time they reached the first human colony, they were already fighting each other more than they were fighting humans. Saul's Ghost Squadron watched from a distance as 2 enemy cruisers opened fire on their own allies. Ghost Leader to Indomitable, she reported. You seeing this? Confirmed, Ghost Leader. Enemy fleet is in complete disarray. Prepare to exploit the confusion. The human fleet did not charge in. They did not need to. They waited and watched as the enemy destroyed itself. They picked off isolated ships. They rescued captured prisoners and turned them over to authorities with evidence of who had attacked first. They made sure everyone knew humanity did not start this war. Admiral Bin stood on his bridge and watched the enemy fleet break apart. 30 ships destroyed by their own allies. 40 more retreating in confusion. The remaining ones trying to reorganize but finding no clear chain of command. "Sir," an officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They demand we cease hostilities immediately." Bin almost laughed. "Tell them we will cease hostilities when they and their allies surrender unconditionally and offer reparations for Harmony Station." "Sir, they say we are using illegal weapons. They say we are violating sacred treaties." "And what did they say when they murdered 40,000 civilians? Where were their sacred treaties then?" Bin shook his head. "No, we tried peace. We begged for their protection, us. They quarantined us. They laughed at us. Now they can watch us defend ourselves." The officer hesitated. "The council is threatening sanctions." "Let them try. Tell me, Lieutenant, what can they sanction? We are already quarantined. We already have no trade with them. They already treat us like criminals. What more can they do?" The officer had no answer. The battle for human space continued for 3 more months. Every engagement showed the galaxy something new about humanity. They saw human medics treating wounded enemy soldiers. They saw human ships rescuing escape pods even in the middle of battle. They saw human diplomats offering peace terms that were surprisingly generous. But they also saw human weapons that broke every rule the Council had established. They saw tactics that made no logical sense but worked anyway. They saw a species that could be both merciful and merciless, often at the same time. Most importantly, they saw humans winning, not just surviving, winning. And the Council began to realize they had made a terrible mistake 15 years ago. They had not protected the galaxy from humanity. They had given humanity 15 years to prepare for the inevitable day when someone would test them. That day had come, and humanity had passed the test with flying colors painted in enemy blood and human defiance. The question was no longer whether humans belonged in the galaxy. The question was whether the galaxy was ready for what humans would become. 6 months into the war, the galaxy watched in confusion. Humanity was outnumbered 40 ships to 1. Their territory was smaller. Their population was smaller. By every logical calculation, they should have lost within weeks. Instead, they were winning, and nobody could understand how. Could have explained it. She sat in a small office on Mars, surrounded by screens showing enemy communications. She was a cryptographer, which meant she broke codes for a living. But her real skill was understanding how people thought, and she had been thinking very carefully about humanity's enemies. "They expect us to fight like they do," she told her team during a morning briefing. "Organized, predictable, following established military doctrine. So we do the opposite. We change tactics every single battle. We make decisions democratically, which means our own commanders cannot predict what we will do next. How can the enemy predict us if we cannot predict ourselves?" One of her team members, a young analyst named, raised his hand. "But doesn't that make coordination difficult?" "Yes," admitted, "which is why we practice chaos. We train our people to adapt instantly to changing situations. We give our ship captains authority to make their own decisions. We trust them to be creative. The enemy has strict hierarchies. They must wait for orders. We do not. That is our advantage." Nodded slowly. "So we are using our weakness as a strength." "Exactly, and there is more. Watch this." Pulled up a recording of a captured soldier being interviewed. The soldier sat in a clean room, unharmed, eating food from a plate. A human interrogator sat across from him, not threatening, just talking. "You were injured in the battle," the interrogator said on the recording. "Our medics treated you. How do you feel?" The soldier looked confused. "Why did you save me? I am your enemy." "You are a soldier following orders. We do not hate you. We hate the people who sent you to attack civilians. There is a difference." The soldier was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, "What will you do with me?" "When the war ends, we will return you to your people. Until then, you will be treated with respect. We have rules about prisoners. We follow those rules even when others do not." Paused the recording. "We have captured over 3,000 enemy soldiers. All of them receive medical care. All of them are treated according to the old Geneva Conventions. We feed them. We house them. We let them send messages to their families. And we record everything." "Why record it?" asked. "Because we broadcast it. Every single day we send these recordings across open channels. We let the enemy see that their soldiers are alive and well. We let their families see that we are not monsters. And it works. Watch the data." She brought up statistics. In the first month of the war, 0 enemy soldiers surrendered. In the second month, 12 surrendered. In the third month, 97. By the sixth month, entire ships were surrendering without a fight. "We are winning the war without firing shots," said. "We are winning it by being better than they expected, by being human." Was working on a different approach. He was a diplomat, though he had never expected to practice diplomacy during a war. His job was to talk to the enemy, not the leadership, but the other species allied with them. He sat across from a Vex commander in a neutral space station. The Vex was, with compound eyes and mandibles that clicked when it spoke. "You asked for this meeting," the Vex said. "Speak quickly. My time is valuable." "I wanted to show you something," said calmly. He placed a data tablet on the table between them. "These are intercepted communications from the High Command. They are planning to betray your species once humanity is defeated. They intend to claim all conquered human worlds for themselves. Your people will receive nothing." The Vex leaned forward, studying the data. "This could be faked." "It could be," agreed. "But it is not. I am showing you this because the Vex people have done nothing to harm humans. You joined this alliance for profit. I understand that, but there will be no profit, only betrayal. They have a history of this. Would you like to see records of the 17 other species they have betrayed in the past century?" He placed another tablet on the table. The Vex was quiet for a long time. Its mandibles clicked softly, a sign of stress. "Why show me this? Why not let us be betrayed and weakened?" "Because that is not how humans think," said. "We do not want enemies, we want neighbors. Yes, you joined a war against us, but you were lied to. They told you we were aggressive expansionists. They told you we were a threat. Were they telling the truth?" "I do not know." "Then learn. We are broadcasting on all frequencies. Watch our transmissions. See how we treat prisoners. See how we negotiate. See how we offer peace terms that are fair even to those who attacked us. Then decide if you want to continue fighting or if you want to find another path." Stood to leave. "The offer stands for 72 hours. After that, we will assume you have chosen to remain our enemy. Choose wisely." He left the Vex commander alone with the data tablets. 71 hours later, the Vex fleet from the war. They did not join humanity, not yet, but they stopped fighting, and they took 30% of the enemy fleet with them. The Empire was furious. They sent threatening messages. They promised revenge, but they were now fighting alone and they were losing badly. Back on Earth, stood before the Galactic Council once again. This time, they had called for her. She stood in the same spot where Wu had stood 15 years ago, but the atmosphere was different now. "You are using forbidden technologies," accused. "Artificial intelligence weapons, autonomous drones. These are violations of sacred laws established 10,000 years ago." Looked at him calmly. "We did not sign those laws. US membership, remember. You quarantined us. You told us we were too dangerous for your civilized galaxy. Now you are angry that we prepared to defend ourselves." Another council member spoke up. "You are destabilizing the entire sector. Your actions are causing chaos." "They caused chaos when they murdered 40,000 civilians," replied, her voice sharp. "Where was the council then? Where was your concern for stability when human children died in the void?" The who had supported humanity years ago spoke gently. "We understand your anger, but these weapons you are using, they are dangerous. Not just to your enemies, but to everyone. There are reasons we banned them." "And we will discuss those reasons," said. "When the war is over, when our people are safe, when they are held accountable for their crimes. Until then, we will use every tool we have to protect ourselves. And if that makes you uncomfortable, perhaps you should have thought of that before leaving us to face extinction alone." The chamber fell silent. No one had spoken to the council this way in living memory. Finally spoke, "What do you want?" "Recognition," said simply. "Not membership, not anymore. We do not want to join your council. We want you to acknowledge that we have the right to exist, to defend ourselves, to make our own choices. We want you to stop treating us like children who need to be managed." "And if we do not?" Smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Then watch what happens when you leave humans with no choice but to solve their own problems. We are not asking for your permission anymore. We are telling you how things will be. The only question is whether you will adapt to that reality peacefully, or whether you will keep pretending you control us." She turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the council members looked at each other in shock. The galaxy was changing, and for the first time in 10,000 years, they were not the ones changing it. Humanity was. 2 years after the attack on Harmony Station, the war was over. The Empire had surrendered, not defeated in a single battle, but worn down by 1,000 small defeats, worn down by soldiers who refused to fight, worn down by allies who abandoned them, worn down by a human species that refused to simply win or lose, but instead changed the rules of the game entirely. Yang stood on the bridge of a new ship. The New Dawn had been too damaged to repair, so they had built another. This one was bigger, faster, and yes, it had weapons. Not because humanity loved war, but because they had learned a hard lesson. Sometimes the only way to have peace is to be ready for war. His crew had survived, still served as his chief engineer, though she now had a scar across her cheek from a piece of shrapnel during their desperate stand. They rarely spoke about those 6 hours they had held off the waiting for rescue. Some memories were too heavy for words. "Captain," said from her station, "we are approaching Haven. The colony is ready to receive us." Yang smiled. It had taken 2 extra years, but they had finally reached their destination. 8,000 people who had survived a war were about to start new lives on a new world. "Take us in slowly. Let them see their new home." Through the viewport, Haven appeared. It was a blue and green world, similar to Earth but smaller. Clouds swirled across its surface. 3 moons hung in its sky, and on its surface, structures were already being built. This would be humanity's 47th colony, but it would be the first one built after the war. The first one built in a galaxy that could no longer ignore them. On Earth, in the same chamber where he had been rejected 15 years before, Wu stood once again before the Galactic Council. This time he was not alone. Admiral Bin stood beside him, still wearing his military uniform, was there as always with her data tablets and her sharp mind. And there were others too. Saul, the fighter pilot who had become famous across human space, the cryptographer who had won battles without firing a shot, the engineer who had saved thousands of lives. They stood together, a representation of everything humanity had become. Looked older now, though it was hard to tell with his scaled face. The other council members looked uncomfortable. For the first time in history, they were not in control of this meeting. "Ambassador Wu," began formally, The Galactic Council has convened to discuss humanity's status in the greater community. After reviewing the events of the past 2 years, we have decided to extend an offer. We would like to welcome humanity as the 13th member of this council, as an elder race, as equals. The chamber was silent, waiting for Wu's response. He took a long breath. Once this had been his dream. Once he would have done anything to hear these words. But that was 15 years ago. That was before the rejection, before the quarantine, before Harmony Station, before humanity had proven itself not to the council but to themselves. No, Wu said simply. His eyes widened. No, you refuse our offer. I do. Humanity does not wish to join your council. But this is everything you asked for. This is what you came here seeking. 15 years ago, yes, but we have changed. The galaxy has changed. You see, we did not fight this war to earn your approval. We fought it because we had no choice, because you gave us no choice. And in the process, we learned something important. Wu gestured to his companions. We learned that we do not need your permission to exist. We do not need your approval to make our own decisions. We do not need a seat on your council to be valid as a species. The who had always supported humanity spoke up. But surely you want to be part of something larger, to have a voice in galactic affairs. We do, answered for Wu, but not your council. Your council is ancient. It is wise in many ways, but it is also rigid. It is stuck in old patterns. It refuses to change even when change is necessary. We watched you refuse to help when civilians died. We watched you condemn our methods while offering no alternatives. We watched you sit in judgment while doing nothing to prevent tragedy. Admiral Bin stepped forward. My people bled to protect themselves. They bled to protect others too. We have freed 17 enslaved colonies that they had taken over the years. We have shared our medical technology with species that needed it. We have offered peace terms to defeated enemies that were more generous than they deserved. We did not do these things for your approval. We did them because they were right. Saul spoke next, her voice strong. You wanted us to prove we could be peaceful. We proved we could defend ourselves instead. You wanted us to follow your rules. We made our own rules instead. You wanted us to wait 100 years to show we had changed. We changed the galaxy in 2 years instead. Added, and we are not done changing it. 3 species have already asked to join a new alliance with humanity. Not because we conquered them, but because they see something different in us. Something they want to be part of. Looked around at the other council members. They looked back at him with uncertainty. Finally, he spoke again. Then what do you propose? Chaos. Every species making their own rules. The galaxy cannot function that way. Why not? Wu asked. Your council has been in charge for 10,000 years, and in that time how much has really changed? How many new species have been welcomed? How many old problems have been solved? You maintain order, yes, but you also maintain stagnation. You preserve the past instead of building the future. He walked slowly around the circle, looking at each council member in turn. We propose something new, not a council of elders making decisions for everyone else, but a community, a place where all species have equal voice, where young civilizations and old ones work together, where change is not feared but embraced, where we do not just preserve what is, but imagine what could be. That sounds like chaos, said. It sounds like democracy, corrected. It sounds like growth. It sounds like the future. Wu stopped in front of. You can keep your council, keep your ancient traditions, keep your perfect order, but know this. Humanity will not wait another 100 years for your permission. We will build our community with or without you. The only question is whether you will join us or whether you will watch from the sidelines as the galaxy moves forward. Before could respond, Wu placed a data chip on the council's central podium. This contains complete specifications for all the technology we developed during the war. Jump drives, medical scanners, agricultural improvements, communication systems, all of it, free for any species to use, no strings attached, No payment required. The council members stared at the chip in shock. Why would you give this away? Asked. This technology is worth trillions. Because that is what communities do, said. They share. They help each other grow. They do not hoard knowledge or power. We learned during our isolation that the only way forward is together, not with some species ruling over others, but with all species rising together. Wu turned back to the center of the chamber. You thought you were protecting the galaxy from us, and maybe you were right to be cautious. Humans are dangerous. We are unpredictable. We are emotional and chaotic, and we make mistakes. But we are also compassionate. We are creative. We are willing to change. And most importantly, we refuse to accept that things must always be the way they have always been. He looked at each council member one final time. The stage is open now, not just for humanity, but for everyone. The question is not whether humans belong here. The question is whether you are ready to share this stage with us, whether you are ready to build something new together, whether you are ready to stop being elders ruling from above and start being partners working side by side. And if we refuse, asked quietly. Wu smiled. Then we will miss your wisdom and your experience, but we will move forward anyway, because that is what humans do. We move forward, always forward, and we will spend the next 1,000 years making sure every species in this galaxy knows they have a choice. They can stand still with you, or they can move forward with us. He gestured to his companions. Together, they walked out of the council chamber. Behind them, the 12 elder races sat in silence, realizing that the galaxy they had shaped for 10,000 years was changing, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. 50 years later, the galactic community had 40 member species. The old council still existed, but it had become advisory, not governing, taught game theory and negotiation at universities on a dozen worlds. Saul trained fighter pilots from 15 different species, teaching them that chaos and creativity could be strengths, helped mediate disputes between species with wildly different cultures and values. And humanity kept moving forward, pulling everyone else with them. The galaxy had spent 10,000 years looking down at humanity. They had finally learned to look forward instead. Together,